Hello, and welcome to the third video in the series, The 7 Deadly Sins of Retirement Planning. For today's video, we are back at the luxurious world headquarters of Sneller Financial. I'm Ron Sneller, founder and president of Sneller Financial, and for today's third video in our series, we're going to be focused on mistake number 3 that I see retirees make, which is being too focused on growth rather than income. And this is where the typical investment advisor leads people down the wrong road, in my opinion. They get people to focus on rates of return or growing a big pile of money so that they can be happy with the number that they see on their statement. Now, they can go brag to their friends, or they can go out and beat their chest and say, I am worth X amount of dollars. But the simple fact of the matter is that those assets are simply numbers on a piece of paper. Remember why we accumulate those assets in the first place, and that is to convert those assets into retirement income. Remember, the numbers on that statement simply represent paper profits, and you cannot spend paper profits. I have to reiterate a statement that I've made earlier in this blog and video series. If all of your retirement income hinges on a managed money portfolio, the safe withdrawal rate from that portfolio is about 3%. That means if your number that you're so proud of is $1 million, that means that you are a millionaire and you can only withdraw $30,000 of income per year or risk running out of money. Now, if you follow conventional wisdom and save the bulk of that money in a pre-tax 401k or a pre-tax IRA, that $30,000 isn't even net spendable income. You still have to pay taxes on that money. The 401k is a fantastic accumulation tool, but it's a lousy distribution tool. As mentioned in an earlier video, you should have a plan that includes an exit strategy upon retirement. If you truly want to enjoy your retirement and live stress-free, you must implement an income-producing strategy into your plan. 3% withdrawals from a managed money portfolio is suboptimal. It's just too inefficient. Let's talk about the fall. We're going to switch gears here a little bit. I want you to think back to the financial crisis. And if 2008 taught us anything, it's that too many people count their chickens before they hatch. The typical investment advisor tends to compound the problem. Well, how? You see, the typical investment advisor, he or she is in competition with every other investment advisor. Now, how are they going to compete with and outperform that other guy down the street? By promising a better rate of return, of course. But how do they do that? Are they truly that much more genius than the next guy? Well, probably not. So how do they achieve better rates of return? Well, they invest the portfolio more aggressively. Even if the client may not be comfortable doing this, the advisor assures them, listen, I know what I'm doing. The market's looking really good right now. I can make you wealthy. We just got to stick to the long-term plan. So the portfolio is positioned for growth. Instead, the client should probably be moving a portion of his assets into preservation and then positioning them for retirement income. In doing so, this leaves the client extremely vulnerable. When the market's going up, we feel really good. We think we're geniuses. Our advisor is too. We tend to get greedy and we keep pushing the limits. How quickly we forget the harsh lessons of the past. But as we've seen in the last 20 years, the market can fall 30% plus in just a matter of months. And our retirement accounts can be hammered before we even know what hit us. Granted, for a 35-year-old who's 30 years away from retirement, this might not be too impactful. He or she isn't counting on that money for income anytime soon. But that's not who we're talking about here. I'm talking about the pre-retiree or the recent retiree. What happens if they lose money in the retirement red zone? The answer is, due to the sequence of returns risk, it can devastate their retirement. Now, look, if you're forced to withdraw from a declining asset, it is one of the worst things that you can do in your financial life. It serves as a double negative. Not only are market forces driving down the value of your assets, but you are compounding the problem even worse by taking withdrawals. Effectively, you are selling your assets at a loss because you need the retirement income. Thus, you're locking in your losses. You see, your portfolio can never recover, even during the next bull market, because it's already too depleted. See, this is known as the sequence of returns risk, and historical data has shown us that the results are incredibly damaging. This is why the 3% withdrawal rule exists. So if you were to ask me, Ron, when is the time that I really don't want to screw anything up? When I really don't want to lose money? The answer? It would be the last 5 or 6 years before retirement and the first 5 or 6 years of retirement. Look, the riskiest time to invest, it's not when you're 87. It's when you're 57 or when you're 67. Prudential dubbed this the retirement red zone. So 5 to 10 years before retirement, the smart thing to do is shift from accumulation mode into preservation mode, at least for a portion of your assets. So how much should that be? Well, this is going to differ from case to case depending on the specific scenario. But in general, we recommend earmarking enough to cover at least your first 8 to 10 years of retirement income, plus an inflation hedge on top of that. If a pre-retiree or a recent retiree doesn't do this, they are flirting with disaster. Let me share my experience with you. In 2011, I was working in the mortgage industry. We were just coming out of the financial crisis, and phone call after phone call after phone call, I was working with people who were desperately trying to refinance their house and take advantage of the lower interest rates. Thankfully, the government had just come out with the HARP loans, which allowed many people to refinance their homes, even if they were underwater. This was a godsend for many people, and I was able to help many people and provide great value to them. But what I found especially disturbing during this time was how the situation affected the retirement market. Here's an example of some of the things that I saw during that time. Number one, people who had planned to retire soon, but now they had to put those plans on hold indefinitely. Most people I talked to had to work for at least 5 years or more to give their retirement accounts time to rebound. Why is this so devastating? Well, listen, when's the best years of retirement? It's the first few years of retirement, when you have the youth, when you have the energy, when you have the health. Because let's face it, as people age, they don't tend to get more energy or they don't tend to get healthier, right? So what these people did is they were forced to work away the best years of their retirement. Number two, let's talk about the people who were already retired, but they had to go back to work because their investments had lost so much value and they no longer could rely on those investments for reliable income. How about the people who actually didn't show enough income because all they had was Social Security and maybe a pension, and thus they couldn't even refinance to take advantage of the lower interest rates? Number four, people who had no liquidity because their investment advisor had them put all of their money into the equities market. Now, previously, they had relied on their home equity as their liquid emergency fund, but guess what? Now they were underwater. This equity didn't exist anymore. And how about the people who had less than 10 years left on their mortgage, who had to refinance back into a 15-year loan, in some cases, even a 30-year loan, to lower their monthly payment because they had that much of an issue with the lack of cash flow? You see, the experiences that I had working with clients in the mortgage industry from 2011 to 2013, that led to me ultimately entering the financial services industry and specializing in retirement planning. You see, here I could gain the education and the experience to specialize in the retirement market and help these types of people avoid ever getting into this situation in the first place. You know, if folks truly had someone on their side, someone who was looking at the whole picture, someone who wasn't just greedily chasing rates of return, promising to make people wealthy, guess what? They could have avoided all of this. You see, comprehensive planning, utilizing a variety of techniques and advanced training, That's the way to a happy and secure retirement. Now, how do we address the problem of being 100% reliant on the performance of the equities market? Well, don't forget to tune in to the next entry in this video series, How to Avoid Deadly Sin number 4, by creating a volatility buffer utilizing non-correlated asset classes. Thanks for taking the time to tune in. Feel free to contact me for a complimentary appointment to explore these items further. And as always, God bless.